Hi guys, welcome back to Wellness Wednesday. I'm back in my kitchen and today I'm bringing you pork carnitas. So I found this recipe on a blog called Cooking with Curls and I decided to give it a try and I found that I really liked it and so did my husband. So today I'm going to demonstrate for you how to make it in my Instapot, of course. So what you will need is a cup of orange juice, 1 lime, 2 garlic cloves. I have 3 here because I'm Italian and we use a lot of garlic. 1 bay leaf. And then the spices you will need are oregano, chili powder, thyme, and cumin. So I have all of those. And then of course, the biggest part of the whole thing is the pork. So the recipe calls for pork butt, but instead I always tend to use either tenderloin or regular pork loin, just because I don't like to trim the fat as much, and this is the piece of meat that I'm more comfortable with. But for those of you who are looking to follow the recipe exactly, it is pork butt, about 3.5 pounds. This one's about 2.5 pounds of a pork loin that I just picked up at Publix. So to get started, we take our orange juice, our 1 cup of orange juice. That goes in the bottom of our Instapot. Juice from 1 lime also goes into our Instapot. Awesome. Then your garlic cloves go in there and your bay leaf. The bay leaf creates a lot of flavor in that juice for the pork to cook in. So then we have our bowl, and we're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of each of these spices. So 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, 1/2 teaspoon of our chili powder, 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, and then lastly, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. And again, that gives it some depth. Clean as we go. All right, so mix that up in the bottom of your bowl. It does not have to be perfect. And then I'm going to add a little bit of sea salt. And then some pepper, freshly ground pepper. Coat the pork. And then I'll mix that up just a little bit more with the seasonings. And lastly, we'll add the pork into the seasonings. And basically we'll dredge the pork with those seasonings. So it completely covers, well, so that you get some seasoning on each chunk of that pork. And note, I also cut the pork up into chunks as that is what the recipe called for. And I found at the end that it breaks apart a lot easier when that's been done, as opposed to just putting a whole big piece of pork in there. So now we are just mixing up the pork in with the seasonings. Get some seasonings on each one of those. Let's use our hands. Sometimes it's faster and easier just to do it the old-fashioned way. All right, we're looking pretty good. Got some seasonings on each one of them. Now I'm going to put the pork in my Instapot. and get it all in that orange juice lime mixture. Try and get a little bit of orange juice on each of those pieces. Let me wash my hands. So we've gotten all of the pork into our Instapot, and now we're just going to turn it on. We've already gotten the lid on. We're going to press manual and set it to 50 minutes, and in about an hour, we will come back and you will see the conclusion of our pork carnitas. Hi, welcome back. So after about 50 minutes of cooking in the Instapot and about 20 minutes of letting it naturally depressurize, I took the pork out of the Instapot without the juices, and then I put it in a separate bowl. And I broke it up with a spoon. The pork meat is very tender, so it doesn't take a lot of effort. You can do it with your hands or a couple of forks, spoon. It all works. After that, I grabbed a pan and put about a tablespoon of ghee in it. You can use butter, you can use olive oil, whatever your fat of choice is. And then I basically browned or made crispy the pork. And then at the end, I put about a cup of juice from the Instapot back into the pork to make it juicy. So it's a little bit crispy and juicy, and it's super yummy. And here's the finished product, which we will be having for dinner. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a wonderful Wednesday.